Today's story happened in Finland. Unfortunately, it shows what tragedy possessive love can lead to. When spouses who once gave each other love part in anger or hatred, it is very sad and raises many problems. Such a situation is even more difficult for their children, especially if either parent treats them as a bargaining chip, which unfortunately happens more often than it may seem. Nonetheless, it is rare to see such an escalation of conflict and such tragic events as in today's case, which shook Finland a few years ago. It's 2008, and 19-year-old Mari Soikkonen is sitting on a train to meet her friend, whom she has arranged to meet at a bar in nearby Ivalo, Inari municipality, Finland. Mari lives in the countryside and loves going to Ivalo, which she always calls a city. Although this town has only 3,000 residents and doesn't even have a city charter, there are plenty of stores, bars, and several shopping centers. There are also tall buildings in Ivalo, and there are a lot of cars driving on the streets. All this is enough for Mari to feel the whiff of the big world there. Mari recently finished school and intends to work as a youth counselor at the church. Mari easily connects with people, is kind and empathetic. Privately, she has many friends and acquaintances and is considered an extremely cheerful and sociable person. The evening at the bar passes very pleasantly, and for Mari it has another nice touch. Out of the corner of her eye, the girl sees that all the time a young man, sitting a few meters away, is looking at her. The man is tall and well-built, with dark hair and a friendly smile. His attention is flattering to Mari. When her friend finally says goodbye to her and leaves, the stranger instantly appears by Mari's side and begins a casual conversation. His name is Mikael, and he is kind and charming. Mari is very flattered by the fact that she is being picked up by such an attractive man, on top of which he is several years older than her and certainly already experienced. Mari returns home excited. The acquaintance quickly develops into a friendship and then a relationship. After a few months, Mari moves in with her boyfriend to Ivalo. The girl admires him for everything. 25-year-old Mikael has a well-paid job, is mature and, in Mari's eyes, very experienced. And she even can't believe that he is the one who chose her. As for the fact that this is true affection, there is no doubt. Her partner cares about her so much that he tries to spend every free moment with her. Even when they are both at work, Mikael wants to keep in touch with her and writes a message at least once an hour. It was the same before when they weren't living together yet. He kept sending text messages, asking where Mari was and what she was doing. If she didn't answer him right away, he called her. So she learned to write back immediately. She doesn't want to disappoint someone who loves her so much. Mari's circle of friends and acquaintances also includes men, most of whom she has known since childhood. She would also like them to stop by to see her and Mikael. Unfortunately, her partner doesn't like them, and as for visits, he clearly doesn't want them. He explains to Mari that there is no friendship between a man and a woman. Sooner or later, one of these supposed friends will fall in love with her, or at least try to drag her to bed. Mikael explains that he does not want to share her with anyone, and that time together should not be spent with other people. It is better to spend it only together. Mari believes this approach is better for the relationship. After all, her partner is mature and experienced, and she is only 19. As the next few months pass, she herself deletes the numbers to her male friends from her phone. This is what Mikael suggested to her, and anyway, by then it's basically unnecessary. Contacts gradually begin to break off. But the most important thing, after all, is the relationship, and to be happy in it. And Mari feels that way. And when, after a year of knowing each other, Mikael proposes to her, she is overjoyed. The life of young married couple flows in a fixed mode. In the morning, each of them leaves for work. Mari comes home first and prepares dinner for both of them. Soon, Mikael shows up. After dinner together, the spouses spend the evening side by side on the sofa, watching TV or reading. On weekends, they spend some time doing housework, shopping, sometimes going out for a walk together. They spend their evenings in exactly the same way as they do during the week. The young woman begins to feel a monotony in this life together. She doesn't know what to answer when one day her best friend calls her, telling her that they haven't seen each other for many months. Mari repeats the conversation to her husband. and he concludes that the friend is a bad influence on her, and it would be best to delete her contact from the phone. More months pass. The young woman increasingly realizes how much she misses meeting friends and acquaintances, spontaneous conversations on the phone, exchanging messages via Messenger. No one calls or writes to her anymore. Her friends don't send her photos or wishes. This makes it all the more difficult to understand why her husband goes through her phone thoroughly every night. Why, when there is absolutely nothing there? Mari feels increasingly tired of the life she leads. After work, she only stops by the store to do some shopping. She tries to do them as quickly as possible so as not to give her husband an excuse to ask her why she hasn't come home yet. But her shopping done hurriedly after work is still 100 times better than shopping together, because then Mari has to be extra vigilant. Mikael keeps a close eye on both her and her surroundings. During every visit to the store, questions like, "Why did that man look at you? Do you know him?" She denies it, of course, but that doesn't change much. The worst is when, while with her husband at the store, she meets a colleague or neighbor and responds to a greeting. Mikael then bombards her with questions. "Who is this? Why did he greet you? How do you know each other?" The young woman feels that explanations are of little use. Her husband remains suspicious. This used to not bother her, but frustration has been building up in her for a long time. Mari already prefers to sit at home all the time rather than go out somewhere with her husband, even though she increasingly feels caged at home. Her fatigue is also due to the fact that she has been having trouble sleeping for a long time. Either she can't fall asleep in the evening, or she wakes up during the night and doesn't sleep again until morning. It is during one of her sleepless nights that the thought of divorce first comes to her mind, but for now it is pushed aside. Mari doesn't tell anyone about her problems. Frustration builds up. She begins to have symptoms of obsessive-compulsive disorder. She constantly washes her hands, and when leaving the house, she returns several times to check that she has closed the door properly. About a year after the wedding, one autumn day in 2011, Mari takes a pregnancy test. When she sees a positive result, she doesn't contain her joy. She discontinued birth control pills soon after the wedding, as they both wanted to have a child. They finally lived to see this wonderful moment. Mari's joy is so great that even marital problems seem less important to her now. After all, her husband loves and cares for her, and he will surely take the same care of their child. And maybe it is the baby that will change for the better and strengthen their relationship. In fact, Mikael, having learned that he will become a father, is extremely happy. Mari is full of optimism. In June 2012, Vera was born. From the first moment, her mother gives her boundless love, which allows her to distract herself to some extent from the difficult situation in her own marriage. Mikael also completely loses his head for his daughter. He takes care of her whenever he has free time and watches her grow and develop with equal fascination as Mari. In 2015, when Vera turns 3, the family moves to a house located in Kevajärvi, a village 13 kilometers from Ivalo. The house is larger and more functional, but as Mari sadly soon finds, this changes little in her marriage. The fact that she is scrutinized at every turn makes her feel increasingly frustrated and worthless. She has to explain, for example, where the fresh car tire tracks came from in front of the house, or whether an extra trip to the store for a forgotten product was definitely necessary. Or was this forgetfulness intentional? The spouses often argue. Mari is constantly frustrated and starts thinking about divorce again. She knows that she would have to share custody of her daughter with her husband, but in her opinion, it is better for the child to grow up in 2 homes than in one in a toxic atmosphere. However, when she mentions the separation to her husband, he firmly refuses. It's not right to break up the family. In the summer of 2017, after one more argument, Mari makes the final decision to divorce and announces it to her husband. She takes her daughter and moves out to Ivalo. Vera just recently turned 5. From the beginning, it is clear that the care of the child will alternate. This is what happens. The girl spends 1 week with her mother, the next with her father, and so on. Mari's relatives are shocked to learn of the separation and planned divorce. In their eyes, Mikkel was the perfect husband, and the three of them formed a model family. No one around them ever noticed that something was wrong. If even those close to Mari have doubts about whether the young woman made the right decision in leaving her husband, the extent of the nightmare she must have experienced in her marriage soon reaches them. Although Mikkel has come to terms with the divorce and has even found himself a new woman, he refuses to lose control of Mari. He continually sends her text messages, starting in the early morning hours and ending at night. Their content is the same as before when they were still together. Where are you? What are you doing now? Mari tries to ignore it and actually succeeds at first, but as time goes by, it becomes more and more difficult. There are more and more text messages, sometimes even about 100 a day, and their tone becomes more aggressive and demanding. In addition to controlling messages, Mikkel also sends ones in which he challenges and insults Mari. Fortunately, she hardly sees the father of her child, as the arrangements for Vera's care are as follows. On Monday morning, after a full week of caring for her daughter, Mikkel drives her to daycare. On the same day, her mother picks her up in the afternoon, and a week later, it is she who leaves the child at daycare on Monday morning. However, after the divorce, and more than a year after the separation itself, the situation becomes so unbearable that the Mari decides to report a harassment to the police. The officers' talks with Mikkel are unsuccessful, so Mari decides to seek a restraining order. Her report on the matter arrives at the police exactly on October 24th, 2018. In this case, there is no basis for assuming that the accused of stalking will use physical violence, so the police officers inform the woman that they must first verify the complaint filed. If they find its validity, the prosecutor will decide whether to impose sanctions on the named person. A few days pass. It is Monday, October 29th. At 9:25 a.m., while Mikkel is sitting at work, his phone rings. A number unknown to the owner appears on the display. The man picks up. The caller is a court official who informs him that Mikkel is officially prohibited from contacting his ex-wife. This means that he can't visit her or approach her, and also that he can't call her or send her messages. The only exception to this situation is to contact her on matters concerning their child. He is shocked. He first listens in silence to what the official says, then interrupts him mid-sentence. "No, I don't accept it," he says and hangs up, then immediately calls Mari. Mari, seeing the call from him, guesses what the call is about. Moments later, incidentally, a text message arrives in which her ex-husband demands that the ban be withdrawn. Mari does not answer the phone and does not respond to the message. She also mutes the phone to avoid disturbing herself and others. She also writes an email to the police, informing them of the incident. After work, Mari goes to the kindergarten. A week of Vera's stay with her father has just passed. He is still the one who took his daughter to the kindergarten in the morning, but in the afternoon her mother picks her up. The young woman is very happy that in just a few moments she will greet her daughter. She is also making plans for this week together. This afternoon they will bake a cake together. Vera loves to help her mother with this type of activity. It's 4:30 p.m. when Mari pulls up in front of the kindergarten. After getting out of the car, she glances at her phone some more. There are 3 text messages and 6 missed calls from Mikkel, the last one from 10:37 a.m. In the messages, the ex-husband demands the withdrawal of the restraining order and contact. The last message reads, "I just want to talk to you." Mari reflexively shrugs her shoulders. She doesn't want to think about any unpleasant things right now. She enters the kindergarten. Immediately in the locker room, she notices that Vera's pink backpack is not on the hook. A thought flashes through Mari's head that this is very strange. At the same moment, Vera's teacher appears, and after her words, everything becomes clear. Father has already picked up Vera at 1 p.m. today. Mari feels a sudden pressure in her stomach and something like an iron hoop tightening around her neck. She is unable to utter a word. Instinct tells her that something very bad is happening. In the afternoon at the kindergarten, Vera was still to have art class as usual on Mondays. Today, the children were to make postcards with autumn themes. Vera had been drying leaves for this purpose for days and was looking forward to today's class. Seeing her mother's reaction, the teacher adds that Vera's father mentioned something about an important doctor's appointment. Mari grabs the phone and dials Mikkel's number. Unfortunately, what she somehow sensed is happening. His phone is turned off, and his business cell phone is also turned off. Mari calls the police. It is 4:50 p.m. Mari does so, but she can't seem to find a place for herself or attend to anything. She stares at her phone incessantly, whether she is currently sitting on the sofa or walking around the house, rearranging some things without meaning to. Mikkel has his phone off all the time. The police don't call. Several hours pass. It's early evening. It's still light outside. Mari hears that someone has arrived on the driveway. Perhaps the police. They were supposed to call, but they arrived. The woman guesses what this could mean in such a situation. The doorbell rings. Mari opens it, and when she sees a policeman and a person in civilian clothes in the threshold, she already knows everything. "We found the bodies of 2 people. They were shot," says a woman standing next to the policeman. Mari falls to the ground, and these 2 sentences are the last thing she will later remember from this visit. The woman doesn't wake up until the next day at noon. On the sofa next to her sits her cousin. The cousin is crying. Mari is devastated, but she is aware of what happened. The cousin says there is a policeman in the house and he would like to ask a few questions if he can, of course. Mari nods in agreement. She wants to talk to the policeman because she needs to know exactly what happened. The previous day, immediately after receiving Mari's call, officers went to Mikkel's house. No one responded to the doorbell, and there was silence everywhere. The policeman went around the building and found that the back entrance to the house was not locked. Opening the door, they first noticed a small pink backpack in the hallway, and then, a little farther away, 2 bodies lying side by side on the floor. Immediately, they could see the marks of gunshot wounds to the head. The door of the boiler room, adjacent to the corridor, was open, and on the wall lying opposite the entrance was visible an inscription made in thick black marker. Wasn't it worth it to talk after all? Upon inspection of the crime scene, it was easy to reconstruct the course of the crime. The father took Vera from the kindergarten and went home with her. After crossing the threshold of the house, he shot the child and then himself. He probably made the inscription on the wall of the boiler room before picking up the child, while the girl most likely did not know until the last moment what awaited her. It should be assumed that Mikkel behaved completely normal. Moreover, the kindergarten teacher also stressed that she did not notice any disturbing signs in him during the conversation. The police psychologist would later state that Mikkel believed that his ex-wife was solely to blame for breaking up the family. He wanted to take revenge on Mari by inflicting the greatest possible harm to her, and the need for this revenge was so overwhelming that he sacrificed the life of a child he loved immensely himself for it. The Ivalo community is shocked by the crime. The case hits the national media, causing shock and disbelief throughout Finland. Hundreds of people attend little Vera's funeral. For many months to come, the family does not leave Mari alone for a single moment. The relatives also take care of everything related to daily life. At first, Mari has to be forced to eat, do her shopping, and arrange her subsequent sick leave. Nearly a year has passed since the tragic events, when the mother of the tragically deceased Vera decides that she wants to live after all, as this is probably what her daughter, who loved life so much, would have wished for. Mari thus decides that she will not allow herself to be destroyed by Mikkel, because after all that was his intention. Mari slowly begins return to life. A huge help for her in overcoming the trauma is an online blog, which she sets up in order to present Vera's story, as well as write down her thoughts on a regular basis. Therapy is also extremely important, during which it comes to Mari that she should accept what happened. As terrible as it is, you have to accept the fact that your child is no longer here, she writes in the blog. If you only struggle with what has already happened, you won't be able to work through the grief and move on. In the fall of 2019, Mari meets her current partner. She moves with him to the port city of Kotka, which is located in the southern part of Finland. As she states, she is only now seeing what a relationship devoid of psychological violence and jealousy looks like. As for negative feelings toward her ex-husband, as Mari writes, they sometimes appear, but in general she somehow manages to turn off her anger and hatred toward him. My thoughts and feelings about the past are dedicated to Vera. These are memories and beautiful moments, feelings of love and longing. These are what I prefer to see when looking back, not hatred and bitterness, because that doesn't change anything. And that's all for today. If you like my videos, please like and subscribe.